Okay, welcome everybody to the session Augmented Brand Engagement. We have three great speakers for this session. And as you know, brand engagement is a term that has been coined several years ago, but I think augmented reality gives it a whole new meaning because this really drives true brand engagement with consumers. So we'll hear all about it from three great speakers with amazing examples. Each one is going to have about 15 minutes. Followed by Q&A. So let's get started right away. Please join me in welcoming the first speaker, Ambarish Mitra, CEO of Blippar.
Hi everyone, I'm Ambarish Mitra, founder and CEO of Blippar. So today we're going to talk about augmented reality for brand engagement. Before we get into that, it's quite important to understand, I'm not going to train you guys what augmented reality means, it's an overqualified audience, but it's quite important to understand what augmented reality means from a brand's perspective today, because we speak to thousands of them in terms of brands every day, and there are definitely perception challenges. Of course, a lot of people think augmented reality is it's a very geeky space. It's not nowhere near matured for brand adoption. They think it's extremely complicated for them to invest in it in terms of taking it mainstream. So there's a definitely area of stigma or gimmick associated with it. Also, historically, with great examples in predecessors in the whole AR space and evolution, brands like Layer and Wikitude also have created a perception that it's something which floats in the real world, like directions or hotspots or things to go or things to do, be inspired with some location-based content. But we have, of course, moved on, and image recognition has come into space really recently in last 3 years, and there have been some good examples and perceptions changing. And then the recent arrival of Google Glass has definitely done justice to the space in terms of awareness among brands. A company like Google can have a huge instant influence on the market. So the keyword became really relevant without really not much understanding, but there is definitely an understanding that you can interact with the real world. That's it. But it's too vast. AR as a space is too vast. There's elements of it in advertising, elements of it in medical science, elements of it is in automobile, every work of life. But I'm going to cover where it ends up in terms of brand engagement. But important thing I want to communicate today, my entire presentation or talk is primarily not about technology, it's about content. I mean, we are a pretty amazing bunch of people in this room who each one of us have different factors of tech expertise, and we do a lot of R&D in it, and we try to make things go big in our own way, have our own dreams about it. But to take things mainstream in any field of life or in any field of technology, it's still driven by content, and that's what matters to brand. And they completely see it as a new content medium, and it is our job to explain it to them in that manner and convince them. So a key takeaway for us is, of course, technology should work. I mean, technology is the queen and content is the king, I would say, and content still remains the king. So moving on, some fundamental behavior changes has happened over the years. Of course, phones have become really smart, and how, of course, this is affecting AR space I'm going to cover. So we used to hold our phone here. The only purpose of the phone was to talk to people. which we hardly do anymore. We text and send images and stuff a lot more. So till even 6, 7 years ago, this was the primary behavior of a phone. And then texting as a phenomena came along, and phones moved from here till here. And we started interacting with people like this, but literally most amount of time used on the phone was in front of us. Then the whole revolution of image kicked in. And the whole revolution of image, I mean, people became photography obsessed, cameras became really smarter, social networks came into our lives where we started capturing things, and we were constantly posting stuff. That completely changed the behavior from here till here. And now we are holding our phone like this most of the time, which is great, because this behavior was a natural extension to drive us into the augmented reality space. So technologies like QR code or any form of smart photography or Instagram, all those things led to us holding the phone in front of us, which is such an amazing behavior change, because a lot of brands still think that why would people point their phone, but without realizing, subconsciously we already pointing our phone in tons of things all the time. So phone is, of course, become like a magic wand of our life. You know, we can, it's literally controls everything. You know, for all form of communication, business, without which, of course, we realize we can't do anything. That leads to the point that we agree that the phone is a natural extension of our senses, and that's where the world is heading. Some predecessors, not AR, but form of recognition technology, was Shazam. They taught the world how to listen intuitively. They gave the ears to the phone. Almost 300 million users now, phenomenal success, and continues to be now also evolving in the television space. Followed by which, of course, there were more proximity-based technologies, which is NFC, and it led to people touching things, but still hasn't gone really mainstream, but that behavior exists. Finally, as I said, photography, QR codes, posting stuff on Facebook really brought imaging to prominence. And hence, a business model like ours could come into play, which is Blippar. For those of you who don't know in the room, we are an image recognition platform targeted at brand to consumer interaction. And we make all branded content in the physical world come to life. We connect the physical world with the digital content. That's our business model. And we work with brands and publishers day to day. So what are the triggers in the world of brands which is working well in the AR space? So what's working really well is media. So print advertising and editorial. We're working with tons of print advertising. It converts really well as a medium, and hundreds and thousands of users are interacting. Catalogs are also working very well. A lot of brands are using still catalogs, which is a very traditional method of advertising, but why it works in the AR space, because it's slowly dying, but those catalogs still have enough life and in distribution in them that if you make them trigger through image recognition, you can allow people to buy those goods, either trying them out in a 3D environment and then eventually purchasing it. It's definitely generating an element of m-commerce. Also, FMCG or CPG, consumer packaged goods, is a huge area. Tons of brands are investing in the AR space, where they're actually converting the physical goods coming to life. There's a whole new momentum where the product itself is the source of marketing. You know, why do I have to spend so much money in so many places when people are actually taking those products home? And imagine if those products could be interactive. And we've done tremendous brand-led campaigns where you blip a product in a store, and you get persuasion-related messages, like whether you get a coupon or you get a upsell, where you buy this good and you can buy something else with it. You take the very product and go home. It becomes a more inspiration-related messaging, and you're able to get recipes out of it or play a game out of it, any form of inspiration content. So single product behaves and reacts differently when you are blipping it once you're in store or once you're at home. Another great trigger point is outdoor space. Bus shelters and airports and typical outdoor space has been converting really well. People have a lot of time in those spaces when they're waiting for something, and it becomes a really good trigger point for augmented reality. In-store is key area. A lot of retailers are using it. And several other random objects, whether it's currencies or CD covers or books or T-shirts, the list goes on. The point is brands are beginning to use everyday above-the-line media or other forms of quirky media to make their content go interactive. But what does those interactions lead to? They lead to a consumer behavior of discovering something unique, a value proposition. Could be any form of utility, could be any form of engagement model, could be something to win. I mean, every brands have their own different KPIs. We, of course, work with hundreds and thousands of brands, and no two brands have identical KPIs. Some of them measure Blippar campaigns as click-through rates into their mobile-optimized pages. Some of them measure Blippar campaigns at amount of time spent on a session. On an average, a blip session in Blippar is 2 minutes, 31 seconds. And some pretty much measure it on social sharing. So when you are blipping something and whatever you see, if you can share it on Facebook and Twitter, it drives a lot of virality, and a lot of brands measure us on that. So content could be anything from buy now, watch a video, like, or even a competition. Or it could be a very immersive experience with a product. In this case, L'Oreal did a campaign which women and men could virtually try on nail varnish straight from a magazine ad. It was very, very, very successful, got like 6-figure interactions. Also, a lot of exercises are social and PRable. So the whole purpose of brands, purpose of doing a campaign is to drive virality and engagement. We did an amazing campaign in the bottom right corner. You're going to see is with cigarette packs in Britain. This was for charity, where when you blip a cigarette pack, it actually tells you that money you're spending on cigarettes, what else you